Oh, gnarly. Cool. Brutal uses for buzzsaws. Talk about a heart attack, and that's not compatible with life. Today, we're breaking down and reacting to all of the terrifying medical scenes and shocking injuries of Doom, the Dark Ages. Let's dive right in. Oh, decapitation. We don't see them very much at the hospital because you wouldn't make it. Is there still consciousness after the head has been severed? Maybe a second or two of awareness, probably not awareness of discomfort. You might have some continued action potential movements that would last a short period of time, but there's really no way to actually test for that, and we're not going to either because that's not humane. Oh, sometimes we'll have a patient in the emergency department produce a mess like that depending on their ailments. Their insides coming out, meaning like their bowels. Sometimes you actually have to put a rectal tube to control the amount of fluids that are going everywhere. Or if somebody has a bleeder that is under high pressure, that can spray everywhere. Sometimes a very simple thing called a varicose vein that has a lot of engorgement into it, if it opens up, can spray everywhere. Oh, gnarly. Cool. We have what looks to be some sort of beating heart here. Can you live with the heart outside of your body? Only in select circumstances, and that's usually if your rest of your body or your blood vessels are on the bypass machine, where you're taking the blood out of the body, you're taking venous blood, you're oxygenating it by the machine and putting it back into your arterial system. Oof. Cool graphics. Bye-bye. Being thrown off from a ledge, falling from great heights. People fall off roofs, out of trees, anything that's above about 3 times your own height. You worry about substantial injuries. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be there, but you have to have a high index of suspicion. The air quality does not look good here. It looks very dusty, grim, a lot of like particles in the air. Probably not good for the character to be breathing. Hopefully there's an apparatus. Wow. Body is severed in half. Now people will always ask, hey, is it survivable? Can you survive? You're cutting through intestine. You're just gonna have fecal matter everywhere. But then you're cutting through your aorta and your inferior vena cava and major blood vessels. You're cutting through your renal system, so you're not gonna have a functioning system to basically filter out your blood and clean it. And then on top of that, you're potentially, depending on how high up you are or low, cutting through your spleen and your liver, which will also continue to bleed. Whoa, wow. Is this like a super glove? When people do get punched, especially like an uppercut like that, usually we see lacerations, dental problems, like a fracture or an avulsion of a tooth, but we also potentially see a fracture of the mandible, aka the jaw. Normally, somebody gets punched in the jaw, it fractures in 2 places because the energy needs to go out somewhere. So it gets fractured on one side, the energy pops out the other side. What? Come on. Come on! We're missing some decent anatomy. All we're seeing is almost like a bony structure in a hole with some gurgling noises and blood vessels, like spurting some blood. In a human, we have 2 major blood vessels on each side of your neck, your carotid artery and your jugular vein. And then there's branches off of those. And then you have all the muscles in this area. And then from a bone standpoint, you have vertebrae of your neck. Traumatic head injuries, this one massively traumatic, not survivable. We all know this, but when somebody comes in with trauma to the head, depending on the mechanism, will depend on what we need to do. Do we need to observe somebody? Do we need to get a CT scan of the head? Do we need to call a neurosurgeon to intervene? It just depends. Big spectrum. There's potentially nothing to do. Nothing to do and you'll be fine. Nothing to do because it's so destructed and you're bleeding in your brain and there's no surgical intervention. And then there's the in-between. Oh, fire injuries. Wow. Ah, When you used to have somebody who has a burn so bad that it causes the body to disintegrate, you're looking at like 4th degree burns. Yes, nobody talks about it, but it is a thing. It's just they're so destructive that there's not really that much to recover from, unfortunately. If you have that much flames around you, you're burning your airway because you're breathing in the flames, which then will melt it and fuse it or disintegrate it or cause enough breakdown of the tissues that it's not useful, or causes so much swelling that it gets blocked. Oh, we're seeing lots of different hearts with different colors. What does that mean? Blue, green, yellow, and they're all kind of shaped very circular, versus the human heart, it has an apex at the bottom and then gets wider at the top. Your left ventricle down there, and then you have your right ventricle, and then bigger pools of the atrium higher up. Could you squeeze the heart and have it explode like that? No. It's really interesting though. I have had to do CPR on somebody's heart that is outside of their body. Meaning the chest cavity is open, the heart is exposed and not beating, so we need to do CPR. But you can't do CPR by doing chest compressions because the chest wall has been pretty much removed. Oh, cool looking character. Impaled object to the left lower quadrant of the abdomen. What's on the left side of the abdomen? You have your descending colon, sigmoid colon. You have your kidney on the back, your ureters. Those are the big things that would be hit. Your spleen is on that side, but it hides up under the ribs unless you have something called splenomegaly. What do I always say first? Don't pull it out. Once it's impaled in, it's caused the trauma. But upon pulling it out, it basically leaves a hole where all the problem gets a lot worse. If you're diving into Doom, the Dark Ages, you need next level focus and serious mental stamina. That's where Level Up from my company Life Happens comes in. Perfect for boss fights or just surviving a Monday. Grab Level Up at lifehappens.com or on Amazon. Oh, going into the heart. There's still blood flow to the brain for just a couple seconds, even though the heart is gone. We see this happen when people go into cardiac arrest. Cardiac arrest! You can see on the monitor that the heart has stopped, but they're still talking to us. The oxygenated blood ceases to get to the brain, and the brain stops functioning. And then this unique third eye in medicine, the pineal gland, which is inside the brain, is thought to by some people to be the third eye. This was pretty cool. The gameplay is really good. The storyline seems really cool. I think they're doing a good job because I've reacted to the other Doom games, so they're advancing it well and giving good graphics and new types of like moves that you can do. So really interesting, really cool. If you guys want me to continue to do video games, let me know in the comments. And as always, make sure you check out this playlist right here, binge watch everything, and please subscribe, turn on your bell notifications, and hit that like button for me. Thanks so much for watching, and stay healthy, my friends.